In an office, a woman types on a keyboard. Another woman in a chair at her desk.
Hi, Janet.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. One second.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm here to talk about the situation with Willie Cushing.
Okay.
I need to understand what happened
I know.
and why I wasn't
I know.
informed about it.
Well, I'm sorry that it happened the way it did.
She looks down.
Was the coincidence that you were away was not intentional, and I apologize for that because I know it must be a shock for you.
Yes. Why wasn't I informed? I left my emergency contact information.
I thought about it. The decision was mine, and I decided against it. You're on vacation. Informing you, I don't think would have changed anything, and so I decided not to.
But this has left a huge hole in my organization. Without Willie there, we need to come up with a plan.
We
But
do,
first,
and
I
we
need to
will.
understand what happened.
Okay, we will come up with a plan and everything will be okay in that direction, okay? What happened was very simple. As you know, we have the technology and we have the right to review everyone's telephone and internet use records. And a big red flag came up on William Cushing. He had multiple irregular uses of the telephone. Everything was outside of the Bank Street business, and his use of the internet was abusive.
Willie has been a great employee. Is this something that has just happened, or did the flag go up before I was gone?
Now we've been reviewing records for a long time. HR and other departments have talked about the punitive action. We decided on it, and
Her hands up.
coincidentally and unfortunately, we decided to put it into action while you were away. So that's what happened.
I was never informed of this prior to my leaving.
Prior to you leaving, there was nothing for me to inform you about.
What about the warnings? You said that it has been happening, that you've been looking at the records.
I've been looking at records for everybody, everyone in your department and everyone in everybody else's department. When it hits a certain
Looks down.
level of misuse, that's when we sat down and decided what to do. So right now, William Cushing is on administrative leave.
Okay, you're saying that he made personal calls.
He made a lot of personal calls, both long-distance calls to
Shakes her head.
Iowa and somewhere in New York and Massachusetts.
Look, Willie, everybody makes personal calls, okay? I don't have a problem with that. He's always done a great job.
Personal calls, multiple personal calls, is improper use of company property, frankly. And it must work into someone's productivity. If you couple that with the amount of time you're spending, or he's spending on the internet.
Whatever he's done has not impacted his performance. And I should be part of that decision, okay? I should be part of the decision whether or not he needs to leave.
And that's not going to change the
this.
records. It's not going to change his records. It's not going to change the policy that we have here as to what is proper and what's improper.
It just doesn't sound right to me, okay? And we need to get him back. That's the bottom line here. And if we need to go higher in the
And I'm not
organization
going to change
to
my
make that
decision.
happen,
That's not a good precedent.
Grins.
And it's not a good precedent to look at someone's record and say, well, not him, but maybe someone else.
I can see if he had performance problems, but he has no performance problems, okay? He doesn't need to be
Let's talk about that. But let's talk about that after his leave.
No, this is wrong. This is simply wrong.
Lynn?
And I wasn't
Lynn,
informed about this.
he is not the only person whose records have been looked over.
Lynn's eyebrows rise.
Somebody else in my organization?
Yes, you.
Lynn cocks her head.
Who? Oh, my records?
Your records have been also reviewed.
Yes. And what are you saying?
I'm saying that I have records of
Looks away.
long-distance phone calls that are outside of business and of use on websites and time on the internet that seems inappropriate.
This is crazy because
Eyes wide.
obviously these policies have not been clearly defined. Okay?
I
or
think it's very clearly
communicated.
defined.
I
But
need
we've
to
made
see
them
that.
very clear in all of our employee brochures and employee information and employee workbooks.
I need to see the records. I need to see how they exceed the thresholds for myself and Willie and anybody else within my organization that this
I didn't
has
say they
happened to.
exceeded the thresholds for you.
What did you say?
I'm saying that there is improper use on it. I'm not saying it exceeded the threshold.
Okay, so you're saying that I need to...
Listen, Lynn, we're going around in circles. We're going around in circles.
Looks down.
I'm sorry that this happened while you were away. It was unintentional, but it did happen. And the punitive action that we took is of our right to do, and I did make the final decision. It
it's
was not my decision alone, but I did take the final decision. And I understand why you're upset, but because you are missing an employee.
Yeah, a key employee.
And this is where I come in, and I will help you with that.
Well, you
That is
haven't
not a
helped me
problem.
because you got rid of him without telling me
don't wanna
about
be
it.
yelling,
We need
I'm
to get
sorry.
him back. Okay, we need to get him back, and obviously we are not agreeing here, you and I,
No,
right?
we're not
bumping
agreeing.
heads.
So let's have another meeting and talk about how we're going to help out your team.
No, we need to take this to your manager. Okay, we need to take this to somebody else who can get him back because I'm not buying this.
Shakes her head. The video fades to black. Next, Lynn in the same setting. She speaks toward us.
I feel that the meeting didn't go very well with Janet. She was very adamant about her viewpoint and she wasn't understanding the organizational impact that Willie's absence had. And she was not trying to resolve it in a timely manner. My strategy in approaching the HR director was to understand what the problem was with Willie, why he was put on leave, and my goal was in the meeting was to get him back because we need him. So I wanted the HR director to understand where I was coming from, and I wanted her to understand that he has no performance issues. And I wanted her to understand the urgency of getting him back quickly. I definitely think that the HR director was trying to intimidate me by telling me that my records were in question as well.
Grins.
I do not think that intimidation is a successful tactic. I don't think that the company's policy is justified because there was no performance issue involved here. I can understand if there's excessive phone use in terms of budgetary reasons. I could see sitting down with the employee and explaining that to him, but certainly not making him leave.
Eyes wide.
I don't think that I should have managed Willie differently because I don't think that there's really a problem. I think there's something else going on. My next action is to go to Janet's manager because I need to resolve this very quickly. I would hope that he would understand the impact that it's having on the organization. I also am upset that I wasn't consulted. That's a huge issue. That I don't understand why that happened. And he needs to understand that. I will address this policy with the rest of my team because I don't want this to happen to anybody else. And if HR is going to continue to look at people's records without consulting me on it, I need to be prepared for that. I feel comfortable asking my team not to make personal calls and not using the internet if it's within a reasonable threshold. I agree with that policy to some degree. You know, I think excessive use can definitely impact performance, but if it doesn't impact performance and it doesn't impact any budgets, then I don't see a problem with it. I don't feel differently about the company now after having had this situation happen. I do feel differently about HR and the way that they administer their policies without informing or consulting the managers on what's going on. That leaves me with a bad taste in my mouth, but not. I don't have a bad taste for the company as a whole.